talking about was auto policies and auto insurance.
Yeah.
So I'd like to visit with everybody about that today. And when we talk about auto insurance, one of the first things we talk about is the most basic issue, and that is an auto policy. So we're going to begin looking at an auto policy that you have, I have, and your viewers have, and begin to break that down in the most simplest way.
Manny, what is an insurance policy?
Well, an insurance policy basically is an agreement between the policy holder, the person that's paying the premium, and an insurance company, which is the company that backs up the policy and pays out something if the policy holder does something wrong. So what it is, it's an agreement, and they trade. The policyholder trades dollars and cents in payments of a premium, and the insurance company provides a blanket of insurance coverage, and that's the trade-off.
I see. So what information is on the insurance policy?
Well, the insurance policy really it will make or break anything. What language is written in the policy is what's going to decide what's going to be done in an insurance policy. So when we look at an insurance policy, the most important page for anyone to start with is called a declaration page. This is usually the first page that you find on a policy, and in the very top it'll say declaration page.
So what is the declaration page?
Okay, the declaration page declares the basic points of the policy. For example, I'll identify who the policy is issued to. Your policy, an auto policy, my auto policy will have our first names on it because we're the policy holders. And then also list anybody else that is a co-owner on the policy, and that would, like in my case with my auto policy, it has my wife Adrienne listed on it. So we're the two people that are listed on the policy. The next thing the policy will show you is, of course, the address of where the owners of the policy live.
Yeah.
And then the next thing it'll show you is it'll show you the vehicles that are listed on the policy, the year, make, model, and the VIN number of each vehicle. These are the vehicles which the policy covers automatically.
Yeah.
So those are the basic pieces of information, and there's more information that we'll get into as we continue on through our interview.
What do you need to look at for or make sure that it's on the declaration page?
Okay, you want to make sure that when you look at your declaration page, that it has the most current and up-to-date information. For example, if you've moved, you definitely want to make sure that that the customer service department for your insurance company has your latest address. There's sometimes very valuable information that your insurance carrier is going to want to send to you, but if they don't have a good address, it'll simply get returned if there's no forwarding address. The other things that you always want to make sure is that your insurance carrier knows how to get in touch with you. They know what good contact phone numbers to have so that they can reach you if there's a reason for them to reach you. For example, if someone's claiming that they were in an auto accident and involved you, the other person on your policy, or one of your vehicles that are on the policy. You want to make sure that your insurance company get in contact with you. That's very important.
Have that information on there. So what is coverage?
Well, coverage basically breaks, the root word is cover. And so when we're talking about insurance, we're talking about, imagine using a blanket, you cover something with it. And what this does is the coverage lists what type of insurances you've paid for to have and to protect you on your policy. For example, Texas requires people to have basic liability insurance. Which means that if you do something wrong and someone's vehicle gets damaged or somebody gets hurt, as long as everything is okay on the policy, there's nothing unusual that happened within the accident, then your insurance company will step forward and pay for the bodily injury claims for the people that you injured or the property damage that occurred up to the limits of the policy. And this is really important information, Art, for your viewers to have, which is what is the amount of coverage that I have on my policy.
I was going to ask that. What would you recommend would be a good coverage for something like that?
Well, with all these new vehicles like Hummers, you have people here in the Dallas area, Dallas-Fort Worth area that drive very expensive cars. You're talking about, very expensive cars like Jaguars and so forth.
Yeah.
These vehicles can go anywhere up until $50,000 to over $100,000 in value. So my recommendation to anyone driving a vehicle is to try to get the maximum amount of coverage that your insurance company offers. For example, I'm currently, the company I'm with offers 300, 500, 300, which is $300,000 in bodily injury for one person, $500,000, that's $500,000 for if there's more than one claimant, so you have 2, 5, 10, 20 claimants, the policy will pay out no more than $500,000 to all those people that got injured. And then the property damage would be $300,000. Now, you wouldn't believe what the difference in prices are between the basic coverages that I have and having that maximal coverage. Take a guess how much the difference is in price.
Maybe $50?
$10 a month.
$10?
For $10 a month, Art, your viewers, for $10 more a month, I can have $300,000, $500,000, $300,000. So now look at it, Art, and for your viewers to look at it and say, hey, is it worth that $10 for me to have all that extra protection? What do you think?
I think I would go for the maximum.
Absolutely.
For $10 more, get all that coverage that you were explaining.
Absolutely.
That would be an excellent deal. So, so you recommend that people go for the maximum
right.
coverage.
Contact your insurance agent or contact your customer service department and simply ask them, what's the most amount of insurance coverage I can have on my vehicle policy? And they'll gladly tell you. And as we discussed, for as little as $10 more a month, it's worth not getting sued and having to pay the difference if the cost of a claim under a $30,000, $60,000 policy isn't enough, but you have $300,000, $500,000 to cover the difference. You'll be safe. You won't get sued for the difference.
I see. So what important information can the policyholder provide their insurance company, charges and stuff like that?
Well, absolutely. You always want to bring things to the attention of your insurance company, and there's a reason. Insurance is calculated. They do numbers to try to figure out the right amount of premium you should be charged for the coverage that you get in your policy. If there's things going on that your insurance company is not aware of and that you don't bring to their attention, they could, it's possible, Art, that they could turn around and deny coverage on a claim.
Can you give some examples of?
Sure. A very common situation that happens, Art, is where we have somebody that's using a vehicle with some degree of frequency. Let's just say you have a neighbor and she doesn't have, or he or she doesn't have any transportation. So you work one shift and this person works another shift. So while you're not using your car, he or she is. Well, your insurance company doesn't know that someone else with a totally different driving record, totally different driving habits is using your car. And now what happens is there's an auto accident. And I'll tell you what happens, Art, is when the insurance claims adjuster investigates the claim, they're going to ask, who is this person that's not on your policy that was driving the vehicle? Once they interview them and once they interview you, they're going to establish that this person is using your vehicle regularly and that they weren't aware of it. And this is where an insurance company legally has the right in Texas to deny coverage for that accident. And then your vehicle's damaged, and if people get hurt, all of that is going to fall right on you.
So you're on your own.
You're on your own. Absolutely. And so please, by all means, if you have a situation where someone is using your vehicle with any degree of frequency, even if it's once a week, once a month, let your insurance company know. So the underwriters, these are the people who calculate the cost of your insurance policy, they're the ones going to be able to make an adjustment to make sure that you have things covered.
How would you explain that to them? Say, well, by the way, my neighbor's borrowing my car, say so many times a week.
Right.
So how would you explain that situation?
Well, it's going to two things. When you contact your customer service department, and I would encourage you to contact your customer service department, the agents really aren't involved in this stuff because this is a decision made by the insurance company and their underwriters. So contact your customer service department and simply explain to them, I'd like to bring to your attention that there's been something going on, and I want to make sure that there's not a problem with any coverage on my policy in the future if something happens. And then explain to them. Say, my neighbor is XYZ, that's, Jane Doe, John Doe, and they're using my car, and then explain to them how frequently, once a week, once every other week, and because they don't have transportation right now, and I don't work when they're needing to go to work, so I'm allowing them to use my car. This gives your insurance company now notice that they need to go back and look and see if there's a coverage issue that might present itself in the future if there's an accident. Now, if you've done what you're supposed to do, which is notify the insurance company, and they still don't do anything, the likelihood is if there is an accident, your insurance company may not have the right to deny coverage, and they'll have to simply pay the coverage.
Okay, that's a good information.
Well, definitely.
Also, I was going to ask, do you need to put, if your kids are driving your car, your family, other than the two that you have, and well, your son or daughter borrows your car, would it be a good idea to let them also know that they're also driving the vehicle? That's
a good question. The basic thing that insurance policy and an underwriters are the ones who make the decisions what gets paid and what doesn't get paid.
Mm-hmm.
What they're really focusing on are two things. Who lives in the household? So example, when my wife and I got our policy with the company we're using, they'll ask, how many people are in your household? And what are their ages? Mm-hmm. Are any of them 14 or above, or 15 or above? Mm-hmm. And what they're trying to identify, the people that reside, live there, they that's where they shower, shave, brush their teeth, eat breakfast. Yeah. They live there. Now, if you have, for example, I have a 23-year-old son, mm-hmm. and so he's not home during the year, but he's home during the summer.
Yeah.
On occasion, sometimes, and there's no consistency, once in a while, he'll use one of my vehicles. That's going to be covered under the policy.
How did you explain that to the insurance? Part-time driver, or?
He actually would just be a, for lack of better terms, a random driver.
Random.
Not that he's a stranger or a neighbor, but it's at random that there's no frequency that he's using the vehicle. So the best thing you could do is always, again, get in contact with your customer service department, mm-hmm. because they may want to place him on the policy for protection's sake. They may not. They may say that, well, since he's using it with no consistency, then it's going to be covered anyway. Mm-hmm. But if there's an issue of consistency, that vehicle being used with a regular pattern, and that's what an insurance carrier is going to look for, a regular pattern, they have to calculate the cost of that person using that vehicle into the cost of your policy.
So it's going to cost you a little bit more.
It could cost you sometimes a lot more, Art, because what happens if the person that you're allowing to use your vehicle has a bad driving record? Now your insurance can skyrocket.
You're going to look into that then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't want people using your vehicle with any consistency that have bad drivers, have bad driving records, or a lot of mishaps.
I was going to ask also, if people need to get a hold of you for more information on this insurance game.
Absolutely.
How would they get in contact with you?
Well, if anyone has any insurance questions, concerns, or a problem with an insurance claim, they can get in touch with me at 817-851-7166. The name of our company is VIS, and our website is visdfw.com.
You also have a Twitter account, right?
I do, and if you go to our website, the information on our company Facebook and our Twitter are located on that particular media.
Okay, so there's the agent, the customer service,
right,
and the underwriters. So
let's look at that for just a second.
Okay.
Let's look at a series of boxes. You have one box over here, which is the customer. You have one box over here, which is the agent. You have one box over here, and that is the insurance company. That's the company that actually writes and sends you the policy you get in the mail. And then you have customer service, and then you have your underwriters. So that's the spectrum of people that are involved in the equation, what I call the insurance game. Mm-hmm. So the agent, the function of the agent.
He's the one that first you go see.
Sure.
You go talk to an agent, tell him what your needs are.
Right. Absolutely.
And then he goes over to, what does he do?
Well, the agent then looks at the different types of insurance, what we call instruments or policies that he has available that will, and his professional judgment, best suit your needs. So that's why it's really important, Art, for your viewers to explain as much detail as they can to the agent so he can make sure to select the proper policy that will help them the most. And secondly, the agent is not only there to go through the paperwork with the customer and answer any questions they may have, but also to service that customer. For example, if they're in an auto accident, sometimes people pick up the phone, they call their agent, and they report it. The agent then reports it to the insurance company. The insurance company has a staff of claims examiners, of claims adjusters.
I was going to say adjusters, so they're the ones that come out and check the damage of your vehicle, and they make an estimate how much it's going to cost to repair.
Right, and so you have two types of adjusters in that situation, Art, actually. You have the adjuster who goes out and looks at the physical damage of your vehicle, like you just mentioned, and then you have usually what's called an in-house adjuster. The in-house adjuster role is what I've played over the last dozen or so years, and that is that my job is to investigate the claim.
Yeah.
My job is to gather all the information so that I can justify and explain what I'm doing, which is to accept the claim and pay it, or if I'm not accepting it and denying it, that there's a justifiable reason why I'm doing whatever I'm doing. And remember one thing, it's really important that as an insurance claims adjuster, we have to be able to explain anything and everything we do to the Texas Department of Insurance. So they contact us and say, Manuel, could you please explain to me what led you to this decision of paying it or not paying it? I have to be able to provide a decision and explanation to them that they're going to find acceptable.
Great. Manuel, I was going to ask you, are you bilingual if a person that speaks only Spanish comes to you and says, hey, I need an insurance?
Yeah, I'm fairly fluent in Spanish, and it's just that, unfortunately, in the world that I live in, which is in the business world in insurance, there's very few Latinos. So there's not very many people that speak Spanish or understand Spanish in the insurance community that work as insurance claims adjusters and do the things that I'm doing. But if someone would pick up the phone, call me, just talk to me in everyday, conversation, yeah, I can have a conversation with them and be very understandable and on both sides.
Great. So if a person wants to get an insurance policy, what do they need to have as far as documentation or ID? Or
well, that's a good one. You always want to have your Texas driver's license. Two, you want to have as much information you can about the car, the year, make, model of car. You want to have any kind of documentation, like a title, or any kind of documentation that shows that you recently purchased the car from somebody to show that they no longer have a legal interest in the vehicle, but you are now the owner of the vehicle.
So you have to show them your title then?
You want to be able, if you have it available, you want to show them a title, any kind of documentation, and show them that, hey, this vehicle that I'm talking to you about getting a policy on, this is my vehicle. It doesn't belong to my friend Art or my aunt, my uncle. It's mine. It's my property. And that's a good point you just brought up. In Texas, you cannot insure something you don't have a legal or financial interest in. And this is another downfall that happens, Art. People have a bad driving record, and they'll come up to you and say, you know what, Art, we're friends, we're family, and I can't get any insurance, but I know you're a great driver, you got great insurance with a great company. Can you put my car on your policy? Well, warning really to you and to all your viewers, Art, is this. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it, because you find yourself in a mess with your own insurance company, because they find out then you put insurance on a vehicle you don't own, you don't have any legal or financial interests in, and then that policy will not probably apply for the coverages to that vehicle.
Oh, so there's some good advice on people to look out for that kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. You want to just insure what's yours and nothing more.
Also, is there anything that we need to look at on that? Make sure that it's on the policy.
Absolutely. You want to make sure that you have the coverages on the policy that you've talked to your agent about.
Okay.
And that it's properly identified, check marked, initialed. Everything's done perfectly well. I can tell you there are instances, Art, where people have asked for certain coverages from an agent, and with all that's happening in the agent's office, it wasn't picked up on, they didn't hear, they weren't listening, and they don't get the coverages. And then when an accident happens and you need those coverages,
it's not there.
It's not there.
So it wasn't documented by the insurance.
Right. So always make sure to look at every piece of paper, make sure everything's signed, initialed, dated, and it's done.
Well, thank you for coming by DFW Business Hour, Manuel, and talking about understanding the insurance game. We appreciate your time, and this concludes this hour of the DFW Business Hour.
Well, thank you, and thank you very much. Have a good day.
Y'all have a great day. We'll see you next week on DFW Business Hour. Remember, this program will be available on demand on ourplanetlive.org. Thank you.